Welcome to Brad's Bark. Today we have delightful surprises because we are at the Kangaroo farm. Follow me. So how did you come about creating this paradise for these animals?
It started back in the late 80s with a friend of mine who wanted to rescue some wallabies out of New Zealand. New Zealand is kind of an odd country in that it doesn't really have any naturally occurring mammals of its own. But when settlers started going there, they took all kinds of animals there. They figured it needed to be stocked like an ark. And because New Zealand is largely subtropical, most of the animals they introduced did very well. Plus there were no predators. The problem was that over time, the New Zealand government noticed that all these non-native animals they were importing were having an impact on native species. They hadn't evolved with the capacity to cope with all these different animals eating all these plants. And it was causing a lot of damage. But because all these animals were not technically native species, they had the freedom to just kind of deport them rather if they wanted to.
It looks like we're in some old country western town and we have the saloon with the 5 drunk roos, right?
Yeah.
And then we have over here at the mercantile, we have 3 more. It's like they're waiting to get their parsley and their hay and straw and everything.
Yeah.
And then we have the bank and the jail. This is fantastic. So what is this all about here?
These were designed to be summertime shelters for the animals, just somewhere where they could go to get out of the wind and the rain. But we weren't allowed to build anything. So we brought in shipping containers, which don't count as buildings. But then we had to dress them up somehow to make them look acceptable to visitors. And we thought we'd try and create something that was a bit of a photo op for visitors. You know, I've taken my kids, especially when they were little, to a lot of venues where it was very expensive to get in, and then you've got to go in through the gift store and you've got to exit through the gift store. And the entire time you're there, things are being dangled in front of the kids, whether it's stuffies or hot dogs or pop or ice cream or whatever. And we're trying to keep that to a minimum. These are Wallaroo females.
Wallaroo females?
Yeah.
I love how you speak, by the way.
We've left their joeys with them.
Oh, kaplunk. Get back in there.
Fell out.
Oh my gosh, get out of here. How old is the baby?
That baby, counting from his birth, would be about 7.5 months old now. But that's misleading. He's about the equivalent of a newborn placental, a newborn puppy or a newborn kitten, because marsupials babies are born very tiny and underdeveloped. They're about the size of a lima bean, about the size of my thumbnail when they're born.
No.
Yeah.
For real?
And then they climb up the outside of their mother's body and they get in the pouch and they find a nipple in there, and then they just suckle for about 6.5 months before they start looking out. Yeah, she definitely likes you. It's funny, you know, the incubated chicks, they think people are other emu, and then they definitely know the difference between men and women, and she thinks you're very sexy.
The love of animals, was that your driving force for opening the farm?
We had the animals for years and years before we even opened to the public. I had kangaroos here and a variety of other species for probably, about 22 years before we opened to the public 5 years ago. But yeah, you really have to like animals and be into animals to do what we're doing here. The hardest part for me, strangely enough, was letting people in to see my animals. I had a hard time with that at first. I was very anxious about them and how they would react. But much to my surprise, the kangaroos became more relaxed as time went on than they had been before. And I think the reason for that is because they've all been domestically raised and for the most part bottle raised, I think they think people are other kangaroos. And in the wild, the bigger their mob, the more relaxed they tend to be.
Well, I want to say thank you to Caroline for this amazing interview and an eye-opener of what is actually in the Kelowna area in the Okanagan. This is amazing for families, for just getting out and it's almost like doing yoga on the farm, but just in a very meditative way, right?
People do find it relaxing.
This is the best place ever. And for any of you adults that want to bring it down to being 10 or 12 or 15 years old again, this is the place. So, but big caution, there is a big old alligator, crocodile in that pond, so you got to be careful, otherwise you might get. So thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
This has been a treat.
Thanks for coming out.
Oh my gosh, amazing. So thanks for joining Brad's Bark. This turkey cracks me up.